When tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
We interrupt this commercial break for an important story.
There once was a man from Nebraska who went searching for food in Alaska. When his stomach was rumbling while laying in bed, he could think of only one option, Führer's cheese spread. So he left it once and drove day and night to return back home for cheese spread delight. Now his stomach is full and the voice in his head tells him no more vacations without Führer's cheese spread. Find yours today at most local grocers.
Rosie's Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road, just south of 14th and Highway 2. Attention all Wings fans, Buffalo Wings and Rings has daily specials that will make you want to stop in on all days of the week. Kids eat free on Mondays, and on Tuesdays enjoy 40% off boneless or traditional wings at a price that makes the whole family happy. And come back on Wednesdays for $1.39 chicken tenders all day long. Get to Wings and Rings today, 68th and O, or in Williamsburg Village.
Life changes, and sometimes that means changing where you call home. Whether you're downsizing, growing your family, relocating, or facing tough times, you shouldn't navigate it alone. I'm Laura Bonta-Bush with Woods Rose Realty, and I'm here to guide you with all your real estate needs. As wife of football coach Bill Bush, I understand the importance of teamwork and making sure you are supported every step of the way with honesty, integrity, and compassion. If you're looking for a game plan to buy or sell your home, text or call me at 402-525-0843. That's 402-525-0843.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
Hopefully you and I agree that you should do everything you can to save your marriage. Divorce is hard, expensive, and its outcome is usually not all you hope for. However, when doing everything has failed, when divorce remains as your last option, consider Cordell & Cordell as your first choice to help you through the divorce process to a better place on the other side. We've been a partner men can count on for more than 30 years. Let us be that partner for you.
The attorneys at Cordell & Cordell work to help men maximize their role in their children's lives. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 402-858-3220. That's 402-858-3220. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Office in downtown Lincoln. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. As always, you guys can join in 402-464-5685. Facebook, YouTube, XL, Channel 961. All great ways to put a face to the voice. As we continue to keep things rolling here on 93.7 The Ticket, I encourage you guys, download the Ticket app. If you don't have it already, great way to stay engaged when you have situations like this one where we have the Royals playing on the brick and mortar. Excuse me. Currently, the Royals up 4-0 at the top of the sixth inning with a current record 52-55. Like I've said before, just 3 games behind 500. And then the Atlanta Braves with a record of 45-60. So top of the sixth, Royals leading it 4-0. And again, download that Ticket app if you don't have it yet already, so you can listen and anytime FM airwaves get taken over, because we will have plenty of college football. We'll have some NFL games, obviously Royals games that you're well aware of. We've had Royals on this game, I believe, every summer since I've started working here at 93.7 The Ticket. And of course, if you don't want to have the Ticket app, any of the streams work just fine. We're going to continue talk a little more on some Husker football as well as college football, and then also some NBA. Finally get some NBA talk in there, as you got Damian Lillard back with the Portland Trailblazers. Obviously, Los Angeles Clippers. Warms my heart to see Chris Paul getting the due respect that he does. I've always gone on these rants with Chris Paul, so I won't go into one this early into the show, but to cut it short, and we'll get into it more, Chris Paul welcomed back into Los Angeles Clippers with open arms, which is the right way to do it. I think probably the best era of Clippers basketball. You could make a weak argument for just as last year, just because they played in Game 7 with the defending champs, the Nuggets. But we'll see what happens this upcoming year. Consistently good basketball. The last time it really happened for the Clippers might have been Ty Lue, might have even been the head coach, or that was Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, where Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and obviously Chris Paul, and throwing all the role players as well. That was a pretty solid group, top to bottom. But as I said, we're not going to start with the Clippers. We're going to go Husker football. We still got a lot of quotes. We haven't played all of them quite yet. So we got some more here. This one at Matt Rule, again, just going back to in the short period of time, I think coaches are always trying to figure out, where do I need to go to get the best possible results out of a 30-day fall camp? So we do have one, as I try to pull it up here, on Matt Rule, just talking simply about what he wants to get out of this short period. So here we go. Here's a little bit right here. How big of a jump can this be for your young guys? As obviously with your fall camps, a lot of it for those younger guys in particular, get the playbook in, do it in installments. So that way, when we get into the official start of the season, we don't got to waste a bunch of time explaining things. We can get work done, especially when you get to that college level. I mean, you got some very strict legal requirements where you cannot break the rules in terms of how much time you're taking out of those guys' days, where high school, there's rules as well, but probably not nearly as toughly enforced. So makes a big deal. So here's a question. Matt Rule answers it. Again, what's the important things for those young guys to really learn, and how big of a jump is it into that from high school to fall camp 30-day period? Here's Matt Rule.
I mean, I think the off season is really, really important, but there's nothing more important than practice. When you're a basketball player, you can go play summer league. You can go play pickup every day against yourselves, right? Baseball players, they go play wood and bat league, all that stuff. Our guys, they lift, they run, they may throw a little 7-on-7, but this is really where you get good. And so a lot of our young players are really, really talented. I mean, when you talk to Eckler, I think he'll talk about the length and speed that we have. We have a ton of guys who can run, fast, explosive, but there's a whole other component to football. There's a technical aspect, like your back pedal and your techniques, but then there's a tactical aspect of making decisions. And it's the only sport in the world where, a couple of years ago, the best players in the, best quarterbacks in the league were 44. Tom Brady was 45, 46. I mean, even in tennis, golf, when you get to that age, you're kind of done. And it's not as physical a sport, but there's such a cognitive, tactical aspect to seeing things and reacting. And so they need the reps. I think we have a lot of guys that, if called upon, will prove us right. And so I want to see them get out there. I also think we have a lot of competition. I think there's a lot of positions where everyone sort of said I think they'll be the starters. But I think when you look at our secondary, you look at all the young players that we know can play. They're ready. They're hungry. I think the D-line, we have depth. Linebacker, we have several guys who can play. Same thing, receiver. So, this is a really important time. Spring was good, but this is a really important time for us.
So there you have it. Not super complicated, right? Very important time for the young guys. And I think sometimes these are questions that anybody would ask, and you don't have to be a journalist to ask these questions. But the real thing is, you're always curious, how's the head coach going to answer to what is the obvious question that everybody would want to know? So again, with those young guys, a lot of coach speak in there. But what you do get a sense, and again, this is just for me personally, listening to Matt Rule, is, man, he sounds just relaxed. And not relaxed like he doesn't care, but relaxed in a way that it sounds like he's got some serious trust, that he's in a unique position now to where, I mean, take year 1 and take year 3. This coaching staff alone has already exploded in terms of its size. Now, that could be a terrible thing if you don't know who you're all bringing in and you don't know what these people's tendencies are. You don't know, the chemistry doesn't fit for whatever reason. Then it doesn't matter how many people you bring in. If the chemistry is broken, adding 10 more people isn't going to help the chemistry. In fact, it's probably just going to make it worse. Everyone that Matt Rule's brought in so far, it's been a little bumpy at times. I'm not going to just give him a 4.0, across the report card here, because we've had to make changes, some pretty drastic changes. You go from Casey Thompson to Jeff Sims, not the best move there. And I'm not sure who was involved in like really pushing for that, but it felt like the effort should have clearly been, let's make sure Casey Thompson, if he wants to stay here, let's give it to him, because he's definitely got some talent. And I really don't blame a lot of those losses that he had with Scott Frost on him. Like, I think the Northwestern game all the way in Dublin right off the bat always reminds me of like, Casey Thompson, I'm not sure how great of an opportunity we gave you to go ahead and be a winner, because even versus Northwestern, when you made a couple of miraculous plays, we found a way to give you a loss in a game where you had some really great moments where I thought you played well. You give Northwestern credit, but Northwestern didn't really have too much success versus anybody else. And again, you think of that onside kick, that's a tough one. Where, again, you're looking at Casey Thompson, I think he could have been a pretty solid quarterback, certainly better than what the Sims experiment was. So I don't know if that was Rule. I don't know if that was Satterfield. I don't know who that was. Wrong move. And according to Casey Thompson, again, that's all allegedly. Nobody really knows, but it's saying like he got forced out. Is that true? Again, just alleged. But you have situations like that where not great. And then, of course, Satterfield, you had to move on from him mid-season. So that's a mistake. You're not hiring a guy planning on it'll be perfect opportunity to get rid of him in the middle of year 2 with my new 5-star quarterback. So you had to make that quick adjustment. Other than that, though, has been pretty solid. Like, yes, you added in Phil Snow. I guess you got rid of Ed Foley. That's another obvious one, but you kept him on staff. Biggest thing for, I think, Matt Rule is for how big the staff is getting, he's got to make sure that the team chemistry between the coaching staff is just as good as what the team chemistry is between the players right now. And right now, it seems like that's the direction that everything's going in. We had some longer comments, again, where he's been able to take just a nice little bit of a break. When I say break, he's not taking months off. I mean, just a week, couple weeks maybe, where he's gotten to sit back and relax. And even his coaches that are out there at the dorms, at fall camp with everybody, like they are telling him to just go ahead, take it easy. Even in some of the group chats that he mentioned, coaches were saying, get out of this group chat, like we got to cover it. So that's stuff that you want to see and hear. But Matt Rule's job is still to make sure it's trustworthy. And then when we come to Saturdays, he's not just hoping and believing that his guys are doing the things that they need to do when he's gone, that he knows that his guys are working hard and doing the things they need to when he's not there. And the same thing for Matt Rule. He needs to be doing everything he needs to be doing if he's not from the players, coaches, whatever, to make sure that he's in the right mindset for all this. But let's get some more audio clips here. We still got about 10 minutes here on segment number 1. Excuse me. And there's still plenty to get through from Matt Rule. Try to find some ones that we haven't heard yet. We do have a little bit on the single-digit jerseys. Of course, that is a symbol of I want to say captains, team leaders on the team that he gives out every year. And usually the quarterback is going to get one. And it's kind of been ebb and flowed. So real quick, we'll just go and play because I don't know all the names off the top of my head or what he's been thinking for the single-digit jersey. So here's Matt Rule on his single-digit jersey tradition.
Well, I don't do it. I mean, they vote on it, right? So it's their decision. At the end of the day, we want to be a tough, hardworking, competitive program, the things that you can control. And so the guys that they feel like are the best representatives of that. But at the end of the day, they have to make those decisions, Now, over the years, I've never really loved when my quarterback gets that. It was just, I always like it when it's a physical, competitive, position. Unfortunately, our O-lineman obviously can't get it. But, it's just a way to, kind of say, hey, this is, when we think about what we want Husker football to look like, these are great representatives of it. And so, but yeah, I don't get involved. I don't vote. I don't mess with the vote. I don't just steer the vote. I let them pick.
So there you go. Tradition, Matt Rule's tradition maybe, but letting the players pick. So be curious to see, who those single-digit jersey guys are. It's kind of funny here. Now, he doesn't necessarily enjoy it when a quarterback gets those because he's supposed to be gritty, toughness, represent what the University of Nebraska is. So ironically, I think you could make an argument Harburg would deserve to wear that if he got voted into it, of course. Dylan Rael, for how much he liked to run so far last year, maybe not so much. Dylan Rael wasn't taken off a lot. We'll see who all gets voted for it. Even though Dylan Rael, I should mention, in some of his interviews during Big Ten Media Days, he even said, and verbatim, I know some Nebraska fans will like to hear this, end quote. But he's been working on his run a lot more, his agility, his mobility. And again, I think he's understood just looking at some of that tape, especially if you looked at that all-22 view with a bird's eye view. There's a lot of moments last year where he could even be, 2 steps slower than what he is now, where easy windows, open spaces of grass for you to just run forward and keep the chains moving. Not making a great significant 20 plus gain, not even 10 plus, not even 5+ yards sometimes, like just enough to keep the sticks moving. And he's worked on that part of a lot, according to himself. And I will say the eye test as well. As a true freshman, he looked like a true freshman just physically. I mean, he looked like a pretty young kid. So it's always a little bit nerve-wracking when you see people that are, I don't want to say baby face, because it's not like he was like baby face, but just looks like a young, like he hasn't fully grown up to what your everyday college kid looks like yet. Year 2, he already just looks like much more grown up, which is a good sign, because no matter how hard you work, train, do all that stuff, I mean, at some point you're just a true freshman at the university playing Big Ten football. And especially with what football is today, thank goodness that we're finally done with the COVID cycle. But you're dealing with guys that are coming back to play for 6, 7, 8 years of football. As a true freshman, I mean, that point you're fully playing against grown adults. And if you're a freshman and one of those grown adults plays the defensive end and you get a bad hit, like you just don't know how this stuff's going to turn out. Other than most likely really well for that defensive end rusher or whoever that older player is. We got a little bit more. We'll play a couple more clips. About 5 minutes left here now on Matt Rule. Big one that I think a lot of people noticed last year. 2-minute offense was pretty bad. Ohio State, at the time, our 2-minute offense was really good in terms of having the clock in the back of the head, the urgency to quick snap the ball, the mentality of knowing when to just go ahead and spike it, when to call a timeout. Phenomenal. Executed it really well. But if everybody remembers that Ohio State game, really screwed us over in that one. The officiating crew, intentional or unintentional, one of the worst officiated games that I saw all of last season. It got voted on across all of college football as one of the worst. It was terrible. I mean, they missed the first yard by, I'm not even kidding, it might have been like 2 yards where it looked like Nebraska got over. Very least 1.5 yards. By the way, a yard's 36 inches. I think sometimes people look at a yard and just think, oh, yards of, a couple feet. Like, it's 36 inches. So to miss a yard is not just missing a little bit of space. Oh, that was a tough one by the eye. You're 36 inches off. You take that to 2 yards, which I think that's really what it looked like. We're talking 72 inches. Like, you can see that bad to where you're off by over 72 inches. At that point, that's what I mean. Intentional or unintentional. You want to say unintentional, but my Lord, that is a terrible call. And it hurt Nebraska in that game. But that's the only one I can get super ranty on in terms of the officiating. All the other 2-minute offensive drills for Nebraska, we've gotten better on it. They've been tough. Like, we just haven't been very good there. When Nebraska's back has been against the wall, they've crumbled more often than they've been able to respond positively. So here's Matt Rule talking about that again on those 2-minute offense. And I think in his mindset, just really needing to improve that. Here's Matt Rule.
We have a long way to go in terms of, where we're at in terms of the, 2-minute offense. I think when you think about it, I believe when you come down to the end of the game, it really comes down to the integrity of your lines, your ability as an offensive line to protect, the ability of your defensive line to get to the quarterback. Sacks win games on both sides. And so While the X's and O's are great, while the execution is great, it's also going to come down to the physical strain of how great am I at the end of the game in terms of the physical nature. And I think that's something that, we have to build throughout camp. They're much stronger. We're much more explosive. We're a significantly improved team in terms of our physical nature. But you have to, over the course of camp, you have to develop, the physical stamina and the competitive stamina to play great at the end of the game. So I think there's a lot that goes into it. I think we're really cleaned up in terms of our guys knowing what to do. We have guys who can win, but it's just going to take us, mastering it. And the mastering, hey, when do we get out of bounds? When do we not get out of bounds? You go back to Ohio State. A lot of it's just poise. I think it was Ohio State, I can't remember, or maybe it was UCLA. We lined up wrong and it cost us 5 yards, a 10-second runoff, and we only line up really one or two ways. So just the poise of, hey, doing it every day and, getting to the point where, you can't do it wrong. I think that's what we're trying to do. And it's the same thing on defense, being able to cover, play zone coverages, play man pressure, but also rush forward and win. That's what wins games.
So you have it, Matt Rule, again, on that 2-minute offense. And I do think a little bit refreshing there. Let's get the camera on my Crux face there. A little bit, surprising there. Here, Matt Rule. Surprising is not the right word. The honesty, right? Matt Rule's pretty honest right up the front, understanding that that's been a sore spot for this team, not just when he took over as coaching, but obviously you can go through any of Scott Frost's years. It's still known as like one of the best 3-win teams ever to play the game of college football at the Division I level. Was that notorious year where Scott Frost, Adrian Martinez, every single game was turning out to be a 1-score loss. Outside of a few, Northwestern, you beat, I can't remember what the final score is. Scored, it was more than 40 plus points you guys beat. The breaks off of Northwestern, but then every other game outside of maybe like one more was just a 1-score loss. So again, that's not just like Matt Rule struggling with the 2-minute offense. That's every game under the Scott Frost era for the most part, and a lot of games under the Matt Rule era. So you're hoping that area keeps getting better. But I do wonder how much of that is just confidence, because you can go through all these coaches, but at a certain point in time, I don't think it's the play. There's no way they call that many bad plays in a row, especially when, a 2-minute offense is a lot on the player's confidence. Like, you have to be in there. You don't have the time to go over to the sideline every time, drop the most beautiful play, or to even just sit there and listen to your head coach through the helmet, because more than likely than not, if you're in that 2-minute scenario and you're on the road, it's going to be hard to hear. You're probably not going to be able to hear your coach at all unless you do run over to the sideline. So then you're really trusting on signals. You're trusting your eyes on whatever they're giving you from the sideline, or you're trusting what have I been taught up to this point in time. And Nebraska, and that's why I say I think it's a mental aspect more than anything else, is yes, if the coach did what he needed to, no matter what happens when you get into that 2-minute situation, you should know how to handle it. If you got timeouts, you know what you need to do situation. If you don't have the timeouts, you know what your coach wants you to do in X, Y, or Z said situation. Nebraska has just looked unsure over and over and over and over again every time we get into those 2-minute warnings. And it's just, when you panic, you shouldn't be surprised by a panicked result. It's, some of it's been bad luck. Some of it's just been, I don't think coaching, I think on the players, but it's just a losing culture. It's a place that until you start having it in just belief that you are going to win those big games, you're just more likely to pull it off with your confidence. The moment you go through what Nebraska's been through, which I think has been the curse, right? I don't think it's ever been a curse. It's just been a lack of belief, because people, whether they want to admit or not, subconsciously, you're going to lose that much. It's going to weigh on you. And next time you're in a close situation, if you lose every single time, it's going to be hard not to let for that feeling, emotion to take over, even if you do everything in your power to stiff arm it away. So all that being said, it's fantastic that Nebraska was able to go bowling last year. Wash the taste out of losing to Iowa out of your mouth. Go bowling, and not only go bowling, that takes you from just a 500 team to we are a winning football program. That's a lot. Nebraska, when you're a team that just hasn't been a winning football program, that is a big deal in terms of the confidence of all those players. So with that being said, hopefully we can hope for that optimism and just confidence to continue in to a very important year 3 for Matt Rule, Dylan Rail, and the rest of the company there. So don't go anywhere. We got 2 more segments. We'll maybe transition into some college football, not just Husker football. Might branch out more outside of the Big Ten even. So don't go anywhere. Harrison Arens on the 1s and 2s going solo. We'll talk to you guys on the other side.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Have you been injured in an accident and don't know where to turn? You need an attorney you can trust to handle your case with professionalism and compassion. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group understand that a call to an attorney is a call for help. If you've been injured, we want to help you. Liberty Law's experienced attorneys are committed to the pursuit of justice for those injured. Call Liberty Law and find out how we can help you get the compensation you deserve. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Call the trial attorneys you can trust. 877-42-LIBERTY.
Make bill paying a breeze with Text to Pay. LDS texts you 1 week before your bill's due date. Just reply to the text to pay. It's that easy. Log into your account at les.com to sign up today.
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
This is James Harrell with NP Dodge Real Estate. When I became a licensed realtor, I wanted a brokerage that would help me grow in my new career. I found that in Lincoln First Realty. When Lincoln First was acquired by NP Dodge, the training and support I received only got better. I love knowing I have the power of the NP Dodge brand behind me. I would recommend NP Dodge to new agents looking to jumpstart their real estate career and to current agents who want to take their business to the next level.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
When opportunity knocks, you don't want to miss the call. Hamilton Business Technologies makes communication easy and efficient using customized technology, all while putting people first. Whether you're working from the office, at home, or on the go, Hamilton Business Technologies equips your business with the right tools for smooth, professional call handling. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Learn more at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Are you a skilled mechanic looking for your next opportunity? Nebco is hiring. They're looking for experienced mechanics to join our family-owned team. They offer competitive wages, great benefits, service trucks, OEM-level diagnostic software, and career growth opportunities. Apply today at nebco.com. Positions include lead and A-level mechanics for the Nebco shop. Learn more at nebco.com. If you're driven and ready to grow with a company that's been around since 1908, apply today at nebco.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
MHC isn't new, just a new name. Mo's Moving is now Mo's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartments, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can also handle your commercial moves as well. There's never fees on trucks, stairs, elevators, long carry, and last-minute booking, and no trip or fuel charges. Also no upcharge on weekends, and they do offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service, bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 488-8934, and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Doren. God bless you.
At Valentino's, we're on a mission for tradition. On every slice, for every bite. Golden baked crust, cooked to perfection every time. Savory sweet sauce that's made from our own secret recipe. Loaded with the perfect amount of fresh toppings and melty mozzarella cheese. It's the tradition that Nebraskans have come to love. From game day to every day. Valentino's. Taste the tradition. Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Harrison Arens on the ones and twos. And as I mentioned, we're going to talk Husker football, or not Husker football. We're going to talk college football and expand away from just Husker football. And why not dive into the absolute lunacy that is the NCAA as of late? And I say this one somewhat seriously because me and Des Moines personnel used to talk about this all the time. And we are talking about the Michigan Connor Stallion sign stealing fiasco, where Michigan's out there saying, no, we didn't do any of this. Then, okay, yeah, maybe, but we were unaware of everything that Connor Stallions was doing, to where Sharon Moore says, I had no idea. And then, oh, wait, I have all these text messages. Let me delete all these text messages. Then they figure it out. Hey, Sharon Moore, we noticed you deleted all these. Why did you lie about it? And now we're here with Michigan's head coach, Sharon Moore, voluntarily sitting out games 3 and 4, 3 being, I couldn't even tell you 3 is anymore. Or 4, I mean. But they have Nebraska. I'm blanking on the other team that they're going to not have their head coach for, but the big one is obviously Michigan will not have Moore, their head coach, when they play the Cornhuskers in Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska. So, okay, there's the punishment right there. Feels pretty light, though. Jim Harbaugh leaves over with the Chargers right now. Los Angeles Chargers. Almost called them the Los Angeles Chargers. And everything after that, he got away probably the cleanest out of anybody. Just boom, off to the NFL. He voluntarily saddled some stuff as well, but it really wasn't too bad for Jim Harbaugh. For how bad things could have been, felt like a slap on the wrist. And then Sharon Moore, 2 games. Okay, now we're at Central Michigan. Central Michigan hit with the NCAA notice of allegations tied to the Michigan sign stealing case. It's still going on. So now Central Michigan is got a 90-day notice. They got informed, informed of the notice on June 27th, which triggered a 90-day window for the university to provide a response. The database shows that Central Michigan University involved in an investigation that began on October 31st, 2023, the same day as photos were posted online that appeared in the show. Then Michigan defensive analyst Connor Stallions on the Chippewas sidelines for the school's season opening game against Michigan State in 2023. So this is still going on, and this is still the 2023 cases. It blows my mind that this is still happening. What upsets me, and why I think me and Morning Personnel, when he said at 7 o'clock, why we ranted about it so much, is it's like if with anything, the longer you delay the punishment or the ruling or the reward, whatever it is, the longer you delay it, the less validity it seems to have, because now people are going to feel bad. Like, how is Central Michigan going to get in all of this now? Connor Stallion, we went through an entire year with Jim Harbaugh, and some things were punished, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. Then we went through a year of Jim Harbaugh, And now we're going to go through Connor Stallions, but not at Michigan, over at Central Michigan for something that wasn't from 2024, that wasn't from 2025, that was from 2023. So we're still talking about just way back 2 years, going to be closer to 3 years before you know it. And now Central Michigan might have to deal with some punishments that, in my mind, I think any sort of sign stealing, if you get anything to the degree of what it felt like Michigan was doing, to me, I'm pretty straightforward. You take away a national championship, you vacate the wins, because it gets very tough to argue a right for that trophy. Because when you're cheating, you're not going to give everyone all the details about how you're cheating. So when you get to that point, for me, it's always been, if you're going to be willing to cheat, then you've got to be willing to sacrifice everything, because no one's going to believe the cheater on, I was only cheating just a little bit. You're cheating or you're not cheating. And Michigan was cheating, and they got caught for cheating, and then their punishment was just a couple of slaps on the wrist, even though that was a historic year for Michigan where they went undefeated and then won the national championship. That also happened to be the year that they cheated and were caught for cheating. I don't think that's just a coincidence. I think maybe there should be a further look into that, and it should have just been punished earlier, because now it gets to a point where today, where you have a school like Central Michigan University, I don't want to punish Central Michigan University, but they might get punished because they took Connor Stallion, who at this point in time, again, it being 2025, it felt like they dealt out the punishment to Jim Harbaugh, then they dealt out a punishment to Sharon Moore. If you're a Connor Stallions, you probably felt okay about not being able to be punished, as you did what the university said to do. You left, you cut all ties, you didn't get any nice little severance packages, like you had to get out of town. He did all that willingly, and I don't know. It's just to me a really screwy situation where Central Michigan now is going to be under this pressure. And it maybe does say a lot about the NCAA of, like, you're not willing to go take on Michigan, a huge money making program. But now Central Michigan has Connor Stallions, and on July 27th, you give them a 90-day notice to respond about the 2023 incident where he looks like he's on that Central Michigan sideline. And if they get caught, well, Connor Stallions probably going to have to, since it's not a big time money making school, who knows? They might make Stallions sit out for 6 games as opposed to just, I think, was it 3-4 games that Jim Harbaugh had to sit out? Jim Harbaugh, he wasn't sitting out a ton of games, but to me, it's just crazy that Central Michigan may now have to go through with this. With that being said, that's all I got on the Central Michigan. I just thought it was lunacy that now those guys are going to be the ones who have to deal with that third round of the punishment. And at no point should a college football punishment by the NCAA be handed down in 3 rounds to 2 separate schools. Like, it should just be right off the bat. What was Sharon Moore's involvement? What was Jim Harbaugh's involvement? What was Connor Stallion's involvement? How much did Michigan know? Or was it just the coaches? Or was the AD a part of this? Who all knew about this? Okay, if it's just the coaches, all 3 of those guys, punish them right off the bat. And you can have some different levels of severity, but at least do it at the same time. This stuff's been dragging on forever. And again, I think if you hand out the punishment now, it's not going to bring, no one's going to really respect the NCAA more. Everyone's going to be like, okay, great. I guess if you're a smaller school, beware. But if you're Michigan, be ready for a slap on the wrist. Or an Ohio State, be ready for just a slap on the wrist. Or anyone who's a Texas, a Ohio State, even in Nebraska. I understand Nebraska hasn't had the most wins, but Nebraska brings in a ton of money to the business. So they're going to be, I think, harder pressed to punish schools like that are bringing in tons of revenue for the league. And full tinfoil hat, I wonder if that's just why this thing has dragged out with Michigan for as long as it has, for really, to me, no good reason. You could argue about all the court cases and appeals and all this. To me, it's been pretty straightforward. And when you have Jim volunteering their punishment, Jim Harbaugh volunteering his punishment, and then you have Sharon Moore volunteering their punishment, what are you guys doing that's taking so long to where you have these coaches just going ahead and volunteering what they will do to make up for the crime? And then we get to a point where now it's 2025 and you guys are still dishing out punishments even though the last two guys just went ahead and volunteered. A quick hit for Central Michigan then, and Connor Stallings. Connor Stallings just say, you're right, I'll sit out one game. And they'll probably take that as good enough. And they'll maybe even let you pick whichever game you want that to be, as they seem to do with Sharon Moore in the Michigan Wolverines. Started going on a rant about that. Hopefully that's my last rant ever talking about the Michigan sign stealing case. It's just, crazy to think about. It's all the way June 28th, 2025, and we're still talking about the Michigan sign stealing case with Connor Stallings. But now we're talking about it with Connor Stallings in Central Michigan, not Connor Stallings in Michigan. All right, with that being said, we'll go ahead, throw the break here. Final thing, we'll finally talk some NBA. Don't go anywhere. Harrison Arens on the ones and twos. We'll talk to you guys on the other side.
MHC isn't new, just a new name. Mo's Moving is now Mo's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can also handle your commercial moves as well. There's never fees on trucks, stairs, elevators, long carry, and last-minute booking, and no trip or fuel charges. Also, no upcharge on weekends, and they do offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
We interrupt this commercial break for an important story.
There once was a man from Nebraska who went searching for food in Alaska. When his stomach was rumbling while laying in bed, he could think of only one option, Führer's cheese spread. So he left it once and drove day and night to return back home for cheese spread delight. Now his stomach is full and the voice in his head tells him no more vacations without Führer's cheese spread. Find yours today at most local grocers.
Rosie's Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road, just south of 14th and Highway 2. Attention all Wings fans, Buffalo Wings and Rings has daily specials that will make you want to stop in on all days of the week. Kids eat free on Mondays, and on Tuesdays enjoy 40% off boneless or traditional wings at a price that makes the whole family happy. And come back on Wednesdays for $1.39 chicken tenders all day long. Get to Wings and Rings today, 68th and O, or in Williamsburg Village.
Life changes, and sometimes that means changing where you call home. Whether you're downsizing, growing your family, relocating, or facing tough times, you shouldn't navigate it alone. I'm Laura Bonta-Bush with Woods Rose Realty, and I'm here to guide you with all your real estate needs. As wife of football coach Bill Bush, I understand the importance of teamwork and making sure you are supported every step of the way with honesty, integrity, and compassion. If you're looking for a game plan to buy or sell your home, text or call me at 402-525-0843. That's 402-525-0843.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
Hopefully, you and I agree that you should do everything you can to save your marriage. Divorce is hard, expensive, and its outcome is usually not all you hope for. However, when doing everything has failed, when divorce remains as your last option, consider Cordell & Cordell as your first choice to help you through the divorce process to a better place on the other side. We've been a partner men can count on for more than 30 years. Let us be that partner for you.
The attorneys at Cordell & Cordell work to help men maximize their role in their children's lives. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 402-858-3220. That's 402-858-3220. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Office in downtown Lincoln. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Are you a skilled mechanic looking for your next opportunity? Nebco is hiring. They're looking for experienced mechanics to join our family-owned team. They offer competitive wages, great benefits, service trucks, OEM-level diagnostic software, and career growth opportunities. Apply today at nebco.com. Positions include lead and A-level mechanics for the Nebco shop. Learn more at nebco.com. If you're driven and ready to grow with a company that's been around since 1908, apply today at nebco.com.
MHC isn't new, just a new name. Mo's Moving is now Mo's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered. Specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can also handle your commercial moves as well. There's never fees on trucks, stairs, elevators, long carry, and last-minute booking, and no trip or fuel charges. Also no upcharge on weekends, and they do offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. It took Weeknights. There's on the ones and twos as always, and going solo for the last about 5, 6, 7 minutes here. About 7 minutes before we wrap things up, at least with me going live solo. We'll have some more stuff for you guys afterwards. Definitely download that Ticket app, one-on-one with DP, and he had former UFC fighter Anthony Lionheart Smith, the former UFC heavy lightweight division, was where he was at. Again, fought for 58 total wins in his UFC career. So as you can imagine, he's got plenty of good stories. So him and DP chopped up for about 2 hours. So again, if you guys want to stick around for that, Anthony Lionheart Smith, DP, one-on-one with DP for 2 hours. All right. As I promised, NBA, Chris Paul back to the Los Angeles Clippers. That is a very, very old team. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Just pointing out the obvious. I think the average age of them is I think that starting lineup's average age might not even be I'm not over exaggerating when it's probably over 35 years old. Yeah, James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Is Adams there at the center position now? I'm going through this entire. It's an old team nonetheless. And Chris Paul, I like it for him. I don't know if this Clippers team is going to be good enough to go and chase a championship ring. Now, they did push the Denver Nuggets to 7. And I understand the Nuggets lost to Thunder, but that was the only game when the Thunder got pushed to 7 as well, outside of that Pacers series. So I think, you can make an argument that the Clippers were second, third, maybe fourth best team in the entire NBA playoffs last year. Does Chris Paul make you the number 1 or number 2 best team in the playoffs? Probably not. I think at best, maybe brings you over the top of the Denver Nuggets. Whatever the Denver Nuggets add, they're going to have to add certainly some more around Jokic. It's kind of been quiet for them. They haven't been doing a ton with it. So I like it for the Clippers. I think it'll sell you tickets. I think there's a low risk and a small chance, but low risk that you can make a very meaningful playoff run. And even if that's just a Western Conference Finals, if you can do that with Chris Paul, I mean, hey, that's as good as it got with Doc Rivers. When that team was loaded with DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, JJ Redick as well, I believe is on that team. Man, that was a really good team. And Doc Rivers, I think the best they ever did was Western Conference Finals. So if you can do that this year with Chris Paul, all those guys as old as they are, that to me is a huge win. Some other things that are interesting, take this one with a grain of salt. So Jeff Teague, obviously NBA veteran, former NBA vet, played multiple times, multiple seasons in the league, and he has a podcast. So again, and he even says it on this podcast, just allegedly, but he's quoted saying, and again, this is Jeff Teague, former NBA player on LeBron James, says, quote, he was on steroids. He had to sit out because he was on steroids. They started testing for HGH and he had to sit out. He said his back was hurting and sat out for 3 weeks and then came back skinny. So that's all allegedly, right? So don't anyone take this as proof. Don't everyone preach about this super confidently. But you do always wonder what that looks like in the NBA, because there's a bunch of things out there that you would probably consider them steroids or some form of performance enhancing drugs that you would think should not be legal. And I bet you some of those things you would be surprised by how legal they actually are in certain areas, or how easy certain things are to mask. And that's where you get I'm blanking on the title of it now. Drugs simply that just hide the traces of other drugs you've taken. Performance hiding drugs. I cannot remember the acronym of what those are called. But essentially, you're taking drugs just to hide the evidence of drugs you are taking. So there's that whole cat and mouse game of, is it true? Is this person actually doing the drugs? Is there a chance that LeBron was on some performance enhancing drug? Potentially. There's a chance he maybe just wasn't. But Jeff Teague's whole thing was like, hey, they start to test for HGH. LeBron's back randomly started hurting. He was out for 3 weeks and then came back skinny. Now, that's Jeff Teague. He's a storyteller, and sometimes I think he adds some flavor to the story. So that's why you got to say, take it with a grain of salt. But I mean, it would definitely make sense as to how that man stayed as healthy as he did. And I'll say this much: if he did take those, and this is what his body looks like today, and he's had one major injury, if you want to even call it a major injury, maybe they ought to investigate and just figure out why was that so effective. Because LeBron James, love him or hate him, he's had one of the craziest careers in terms of holding on to his longevity. So again, that's all hearsay, but interesting when you do get that from a former NBA player. And he's not the first NBA player, I think, to have those type of comments about players, not just LeBron James, but players being on performance enhancing drugs or taking certain things to give them an advantage. That was the first one, kind of on a bigger podcast, right? Or Jeff Teague at this point, podcast gets a decent traction. That's a pretty big claim to make. And again, he even puts allegedly at the end of his own claim. But there you have it, from a guy who did play with LeBron James, who was there, and to his words, that's just his best take on it. You guys can make your own assumption as to why or if his back was genuinely just hurting, so that's why he took the time off. And if your back is hurting, again, you're probably not working out if you got a painful back, and you're probably going to lose some weight because you're not getting that same muscle mass retention, because you can't, because you have a back injury, which is really going to slow you down from putting on any muscle, and especially ruins your appetite, and you're just more bedridden, then you're just not even eating, you're not adding muscle. Like, yeah, you're going to lose weight pretty fast, even in a 3-week span. With that being said, that is all I got for you guys tonight. That's my full hour spiel. We talked a lot of football, Husker football, between me, Rudy, Tristan, and of course wrapped up with some NBA for about the last 5-6 minutes there. Appreciate you guys listening though, and like I said, don't go anywhere. Give you guys quick updates on the Royals. Top of the 7th inning right now. Royals scored 5 runs at the bottom of that 6th inning to put themselves up 9-3. Atlanta Braves got their only 3 runs in that 6th inning, and like I said, the Royals responded by racking up 5 runs themselves. So Royals firmly in control, at least as of right now, at the top of the 7th inning. Braves will be up to bat up next. But like I said, don't go anywhere. Royals will continue on the FM airwaves, but we will have replay, best of the ticket, and today one-on-one with DP and former UFC fighter Anthony Lionheart Smith. Appreciate you guys listening. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night.